Well, to set the scene for us, it's 30 years after Jesus has been crucified and risen and ascended into heaven, and Rome is in absolute chaos. This fire has just absolutely ravaged the city for an entire week. It's destroyed 10 of the 14 districts. Emperor Nero, who's ruling at the time and who totally didn't start the fire in order to carry out some remodel plans, he's feeling some social pressure against him from the inhabitants of Rome. He needs to find a way to divert some of the pressure off of him and find a scapegoat to blame the fire on, and he conveniently finds one in accusing the growing number of followers of Jesus. Tacitus, a Roman historian, describes what ensued in this way. He says, a vast multitude of Christians were convicted. They were killed by dogs, by having the hides of beasts attached to them, or they were nailed to crosses or set aflame. And when the daylight passed away, they were used as nighttime lamps. Nero gave his own gardens for this spectacle. Can you imagine that picture? Like Nero and all his buddies, and they're having these parties in his garden, they're laughing and they're toasting glasses together, all while Christians are being crucified and set on fire. Like, it is this horrifying scene, and yet this is the very context into which Peter wrote this letter of 1 Peter that we're studying as a church. Like, he is writing from Rome to followers of Jesus that would have lived in what is today modern Turkey, and they're not experiencing yet the full weight of persecution that the believers in Rome are experiencing, but they're experiencing some hostility, and they're looking at Rome and saying, it's only a matter of time till that's us. And so Peter, how do we respond? What are you guys doing? How do we model our lives in the way that God has for us to make it through this persecution? Because listen, there would be so many temptations, right? Peter, do we just withdraw into isolation? Do we just say, you know what, it's not worth it, I'm giving up my faith? Do we fight back and embrace this violent resistance? They would have had so many questions. And listen, I know that where we find ourselves in America, we don't find ourselves in the exact same landscape as believers in the first century under this level of persecution. But we do find ourselves in a reality that Carl introduced last week, this idea of a negative world. Maybe you've heard the language of a post-Christian culture. This idea that we find ourselves in this culture that's growing increasingly suspicious of or hostile towards the faith. Just think of some of the moments that you've maybe experienced recently. Maybe it was coworkers that made fun of, in their words, your outdated morality. Or maybe it was last semester at college and you found yourself in a spot where you're like, I don't need to be here right now. Or maybe it's watching TV and you're really disheartened by the way in which the media is portraying and making fun of your faith. We find ourselves in the midst of hostility and rejection. And at the same time, we know we just live in this world that is just fundamentally broken, where there's all these different pursuits and trying to find purpose and meaning in empty things.